Welcome to the 12th lecture of course Polymer Science and Technology. Today we'll see the polymer structure. As we have discussed earlier in the first or second class about the linear and branch and cross-link structure of the polymer, let us quickly go through it. We may have three types of polymer structure: linear, branch and cross-link. The linear structure is obtained when the functionality of the reacting monomer or reactant is equal to 2. So we'll get the linear structure. If the functionality of the reactant or the monomer is in the range of 2 to 3, we will obtain the branch structure. And if the functionality of reacting monomer is more than 3, then we will obtain cross-link structure. So here is an example: polyethylene. Polyethylene is in the different types. Let's say high density polyethylene, which is entirely linear polymer structure, and you can see the functionality of ethylene is 2. So it is going to form the entirely linear structure. But sometime we are blending some other monomer in very small quantity along with the ethylene gas and then copolymerize it, then the functionality is in the range of 2 to 3, and we will obtain polyethylene, which is known as LDPE, low density polyethylene, having short branches. And if we are exposing the polyethylene to the gamma rays or using some peroxide to create the artificially create high functionality of the monomer, then it is going to give us the cross-link polyethylene, which is represented as XLPE, and this is a cross-link polyethylene. And this is the same polymer which is being used in insulation for electrical wire, and these electrical wire avoid short circuit, short circuit and catching fire at the time of some mishappening due to the short circuit in the some building, etc. So because of their varying structure, they exhibit the different types of property. For example, linear polymer, they are thermoplastic in nature and they can be dissolved and melted. They are highly crystalline because they can pack into a closed space, and high molding shrinkage is possible in case of linear structure. That's mean when they will be molded, there will be some reduction in their dimension, they will shrink, and they are usually opaque, they are not transparent because of high crystallinity. But if same polyethylene is branch, then this is also branch is also a thermoplastic and can be solubilized and melted as well. But branching reduces the crystallinity. That's why the crystallinity of LDP is somewhere 40 to 50%, whereas the crystallinity of a linear HDP is somewhere 80 to 90%. So because of the branching, the crystallinity goes down. Another point, they will exhibit low molding shrinkage because of short branches attached to the chain, so these chains will not allow the molecules to fit into a very compact space, so shrinkage is less. And they may be amorphous or transparent. So you must have seen polyethylene carry bags, they are little bit transparent, although they are not very highly transparent, but some transparency is there. And XLP, which is example of cross-link polyethylene, they are thermoset by nature. Once they are molded, they cannot be melted or dissolved in any solvent. They don't have any crystallinity, and they exhibit very low molding shrinkage, and mostly they are amorphous. Example of cross-link structure, thermoset cross-link structure is urea formaldehyde represented as UF, phenol formaldehyde PF, melamine formaldehyde MF, epoxy resin, etc. These are the example of cross-link structure, and they are thermoset by nature. Now we will try to understand what happens during the heating and the cooling of the polymer. For example, we are taking the example of HD polymer chain. This is a solid HDV polymer chain, and crystalline, you can say these the chains are folded in the form of a crystalline structure, and chain is tagged in a confined space. But when we'll heat this HDP around 150 degrees centigrade, then because of the heating, crystalline structure will break, and polymer will be in the molten state, and in the molten state polymer is amorphous, means there is a randomness, there is no crystal order during the melting. Chain is randomly moving here and there inside the molten mass. And again, when we are cooling the HDP, upon cooling, the chain will again try to crystallize, and it will recrystallize, and it will form the crystal structure again. If rate of cooling is very slow, you can say 10 degrees centigrade per minute or 5 degrees centigrade per minute, then the chain will crystallize perfectly. But in case the rate of cooling is very fast, let's say 100 degrees centigrade per minute or 200 degrees centigrade per minute, then the molecular chain or the polymer chain will not have sufficient time to crystallize into the lattice space, so it will show less crystallinity as compared to the earlier case where cooling rate was very low. So that's mean, depending upon the cooling rate of the cooling, crystal structure can be changed. Second example is LDP, low density polyethylene. I already told you that low density polyethylene is branch polymer, and they are less crystalline. So let's take the solid LDP pellets or granules and heat it up to their melting point around 130 degrees centigrade. At their melting point, they will be 100% converted into amorphous molten LDP, where there is no regular structure. Okay, in the solid LDP, it is having little bit crystal structure, then some random structure, then again some crystalline structure, then again some random structure. So LDP, you can say, is a semi-crystalline. It is composed of both crystalline structure as well as amorphous structure, but upon melting it will be converted into 100% amorphous structure. So when we'll cool the molten LDP, again it will try to crystallize some portion, will crystallize some portion, may not be able to crystallize because of the presence of short branches. These short branches will hinder in the crystallization process. So ultimately we'll get a polymer which is semi-crystalline, and its crystallinity is obviously much less than the crystallinity of HDP in case 1. And in third case, XLP, you can see XLP is a cross-link polymer, and like XLP, urea formaldehyde, phenol formaldehyde, melamine formaldehyde, epoxy and polyesters, they are also having cross-link structure. And once they are cross-link, and if we again try to heat them, they will not be melted again. Rather, if we keep on heating them, so what will happen, they will reach to their degradation temperature represented as TD, and at the degradation temperature, what will happen, they will be converted into char and gases. So gases will evolve from the polymer and will go away in the environment, and finally you will be left with the polymer char. Polymer char, you must have seen a burning tire. So when a tire burns, it's a thermoset rubber, so some black color smokes is generated, which is the gas, and at the end some black color material or char is left in place of the rubber tire. So this is char. So we can say that cross-linked polymer cannot be remelted. If we'll try to heat it, it will undergo the process of degradation, and some portion of it will be converted into the smoke and gases, and some portion will be left as a char of degraded polymer. Okay. Now another structural classification of the polymer is based upon the optical isomerism. So based upon the optical isomerism, there are three types of polymer. One is isotactic, second is sandiotictic, and third is atactic. Let us take the example of a vinyl polymer. Here the first carbon is having two hydrogen, hydrogen 1, hydrogen 2, and the second carbon is having one hydrogen and one functional group R. This R may be a different group. For example, in case of polypropylene, this R is equal to methyl group CH3. In case of polyvinyl alcohol, R is a alcohol group OH. In case of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, R is a chlorine. In case of polystyrene, R is a benzene ring. So we can say that the second carbon is asymmetric carbon atom, because on the one hand it is having hydrogen, on the other hand it is having a functional group represented as R. So this is asymmetric, whereas the first carbon is having hydrogen on both the sides. So first carbon is the symmetric carbon and second carbon is asymmetric carbon. So if this is clear to you, we can define the isotactic, sandiotictic and atactic polymer. In case of isotactic polymer, all the asymmetric carbon atom, they are having one hydrogen and one functional group. Okay, so this empty triangle represents the above the plane, and filled triangle represents the below the plane. That's mean at a symmetric carbon atom, the hydrogen is above the plane in which the polymer chain is lying. This is a three-dimensional plane you have to consider, and inside that plane one hydrogen atom is at top of the plane or above the plane, and the R functional group is located below the plane. So in case of isotactic polymer, all the hydrogen atoms, they are located above the plane. You can see all the hydrogen atoms are connected with a empty triangle, unfilled triangle. So they represent that the hydrogen atoms are located above the plane, whereas all the R functional group, they are connected with the help of filled triangle. So all the functional group are located below the plane in which my polymer chain is lying. Okay, here we are not considering the symmetric carbon atom. Here at the bottom, all these carbon, they are symmetric carbon atom. So this definition is based only upon the asymmetric carbon atom, we have to see whether all the hydrogen atoms are located to the one side and all the functional groups are located to another side. Then this will be termed as isotactic polymer. Okay. In case of sendutactic polymer, you can see there is a alternation between R and H atoms. In the first asymmetric carbon atom, you can see the hydrogen atom is lying above the plane, whereas in case of my second asymmetric carbon atom, my hydrogen is lying below the plane. Again, on the third asymmetric carbon atom, my hydrogen is above the plane, and in the fourth asymmetric carbon atom, my hydrogen is below the plane. So there is a alternation, one time hydrogen up, another time hydrogen down, hydrogen up, hydrogen down. Likewise, functional group down, up, down, up. Okay, so this is also a type of structural regularity, alternation between the R and H atom. So this type of polymer is also we can say there is a stereo regularity. And the third type of the polymer is atactic polymer. In case of atactic polymer, there is no sequence in the orientation of H and R group. Here the H group is above the plane, here below the plane, again below the plane, above the plane. So this all random. So because of the random placement of R and H group, atactic polymers are formed, and they are not crystalline because there is no sequence or there is no structural regularity. So they are amorphous polymer, whereas isotactic polymer or sendutactic polymer, they are crystalline polymer. Okay, so these three types of polymer have same chemical composition. You can see there is no difference in chemical composition, yet they exhibit entirely different set of properties due to difference in their geometrical configuration. Atactic polymers are low melting point, easily soluble, whereas isotactic and sendutactic polymers, they are highly crystalline, they have high melting point, and they are less soluble in the solvent. So just because of the geometrical configuration, the property of the same polymer, the polymer having same chemical composition, may exhibit different set of properties because of the difference in the geometrical configuration. Correct? Here is an example of polypropylene. Polypropylene is a polymer that may exhibit both isotactic and atactic, and even sometimes it exhibit sendutactic structure also. So polypropylene, if propylene is polymerized with the help of free radical polymerization process, it will form the atactic polymer. Means there will be no sequence between the placement of R and H group at asymmetric carbon atom. So it will have low melting point, easily soluble, low mechanical strength. So the polymer formed which is atactic polymer, it don't have any commercial value. It's mostly useless product, and it is undesirable product. We don't want that atactic polypropylene should be formed because it has no commercial value. Whereas if we use Ziegler-Natta catalyst or metallocene catalyst for the polymerization of propylene, then we will obtain the isotactic polypropylene. And this isotactic polypropylene exhibit high melting point somewhere in the range of 165 degree to 170 degree centigrade, and this is not easily soluble in any of the solvent at room temperature. In some solvent at higher temperature it is partially soluble, and isotactic polypropylene poses very good mechanical property. That's why they are being used for the applications such as automotive, kitchen appliances, domestic appliances, etc. The second classification of the polymer is based on geometrical isomerism. The first one was based on optical isomerism. According to optical isomerism, we can divide the polymer as isotactic, sandutactic, and atactic. Whereas in case of geometrical isomerism, we can classify them as cis type and trans type of polymer. Cis and trans forms of polymer. Okay. So the difference between the optical isomerism and geometrical isomerism is that in case of optical isomerism, carbon-carbon single bond is involved, whereas in case of geometrical isomerism, we will try to establish the isomerism about the carbon-carbon double bond. What is the meaning of this? See, you must have already seen optical isomerism about the carbon-carbon single bond. In case of polypropylene, there is a single bond between the asymmetric carbon atom and symmetric carbon atom, and we are observing the isomerism on the asymmetric carbon atom about the carbon-carbon single bond. But in case of butadiene, 1,3-butadiene, we will try to see the isomerism about the carbon-carbon double bond. So this is the structure of butadiene, and when we'll polymerize the butadiene, it can be polymerized as polybutadiene, and it may have two different geometrical configuration. The first configuration is cis configuration, and the second configuration is the trans configuration. In cis configuration, the CH2 groups, they are on the same side of the double bond, carbon-carbon double bond. You can see upon polymerization there is a carbon-carbon double bond, and these CH2 groups, they are on the one side of the plane. Whereas in case of trans conjugation, the CH2 group are on the opposite side, means one CH2 group is above the plane, another CH2 group is below the plane. Okay, so in cis configuration, both the CH2 groups are placed on the same side of the carbon-carbon double bond, whereas in trans configuration, the CH2 groups are at the opposite side and are quite apart. The cis form is high in elongation, whereas in trans form it shows less elongation. It is difficult to polymerize. Just note it down that it is difficult to polymerize that 100% cis and 100% trans form of polybutadiene. Rather, we will get the mixture of cis and trans configuration randomly distributed throughout the polymer. So it is very difficult if you want to make 100% cis polymer polybutadiene or 100% trans polybutadiene. During the polymerization, both will form, okay, and they will be randomly distributed throughout the polymer. Okay, another classification based on the structure of the polymer is the copolymers. Copolymers basically when two or more than two repeating units are present in the polymer, then we will call the polymer as the copolymer. First of all, let us see the example of homopolymer. Homopolymer is a polymer having only one type of repeating unit. So in the first example you can see we have taken the N molecule of styrene, and upon polymerization polystyrene will be formed, and the repeating unit of the polystyrene is same as the structure of my styrene. Okay, so this is my polystyrene and it is having only one repeating unit, CH2 single bond CH benzene ring. This is the one repeating unit. But what will happen if we take a mixture of styrene and acrylonitrile? We know these are two different monomers. Styrene is one monomer, acrylonitrile is another monomer. What will happen if we take or mix these two monomer together in a reacting flask and polymerize them together? When we polymerize them together, then this polymerization reaction is known as co-polymerization reaction. Co means something together, so they are polymerizing together, so this is known as the co-polymerization. And the polymer that will form by the co-polymerization of styrene and acrylonitrile, it will have a polymer in which the chain will be composed of two repeating unit, the repeating unit of the styrene as well as the repeating unit of the acrylonitrile. Okay, but although this is composed of two repeating unit, but we have to say that this is the one repeating unit of the copolymer. Although there are two repeating units inside, one of styrene, another of acrylonitrile, but the whole is the single repeating unit for the polymer styrene acrylonitrile copolymer. Sometimes it is known as SAN, styrene acrylonitrile copolymer. So this is the one unit of styrene acrylonitrile copolymer, and which is composed of two repeating units, one of styrene, another of acrylonitrile. So based on this definition, the copolymer can be divided as random copolymer, block copolymer, alternate copolymer and graft copolymer. Okay, so this is the end of 12th lecture. We will continue the copolymers in the next lecture. Right. So I hope you have understood this and